Hello, everybody. Hope you're well on this Friday afternoon, June the 19th. For the benefit of the audio, you're listening to my regular Ask James live stream on YouTube on a Friday afternoon. My name is James. I'm one half of the Planet FPL podcast. And the way this works quite simply is I answer questions that I get in the chat via YouTube viewers, and I will answer anything that I can that is football related. So let's get into the chat, see what's going on. First of all, we've got Heavy Finger 7 says, cheers, James. What do we think of these early injuries in the Wednesday games? Is it an acceptable collateral for the higher purpose? I think in terms of the injuries on Wednesday, and I guess it references obviously mainly to Arsenal, I think there was an unfortunateness, if that's even a word, you know me, I may have my own dictionary, about what happened. So the Granit Xhaka one was the sort of injury I think it could happen any place, any time, basically, because what's happened there is he's gone to block a pass and the impact has hit the side of his foot. And because of that, he's off balance, and the way his ankles land, he's just gone. So I think that could have happened any time. The Mari one is obviously a muscle injury, and we understand that his season might be over. But he's gone sprinting after Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's burned him, and he's rapid. So again, I do feel a little bit like it's an injury that could have happened at any time. So 2 games is it's a low number to source information in terms of. I think the proper conversation on that is let's see where we stand come Monday, Tuesday, once everybody's played at least once, and then we'll have a better idea. It could be we get through the weekend and there's not many injuries, in which case it doesn't look like it's too much of an issue. The only thing I'd add on that in terms of Arsenal, and again, I actually think the 2 injuries were a little bit unfortunate, those 2 particular ones. The whole flying up 3 or 4 hours before the game and then flying straight back afterwards. Like, I really don't think that's any form of preparation for a football match at all. Has that potentially had an impact? I don't know. You got to sit still in the same position for an hour. Is that the right way to prepare for a football match? On, a few hours before, we know that everybody flies everywhere now, but it didn't seem right to me. I know, for example, that Manchester United flew down to London yesterday and have stayed in a hotel in and around London in preparation for the game tonight. And that seems far more sensible to me. I think even under the current climate, can they all not just get on a fucking coach? But then again, United to London, do you want to spend 4 hours sitting in the same position? Same problem. So, yeah, but I think Arsenal might want to review that in terms of their preparation. I mean, for Brighton, really, just go on a fucking coach. I know everybody flies everywhere now, and some of the London clubs particularly have been battered for flying towards like Bournemouth or Norwich, but it's the way of the world now. Under this circumstance, I feel like maybe just get on a coach for a couple of hours might be the sensible answer. Heavy Finger 7 also says, how do you feel on FPL versus Championship Manager FPL now that both are running together? Do you have a favourite or just love for both? I don't particularly have a love for either. It's just good bands, isn't it? Look, the only thing really on my mind, if I'm openly honest with everybody, is what's happening at White Hart Lane this evening. Do I have a favourite? Yeah, it's neither of them. At the moment, I'm far more interested in what's happening with the Sky game. And I mean that genuinely, honestly. I'm really into the planning. We got new fixtures yesterday for game weeks 33, 34, and 35. I'm really right now quite head focused in the planning for Sky. It's nothing I'm going to do with my FPL team till next Monday, Tuesday. So I'm going to sit back from that perspective on FPL, enjoy the weekend. Chat, man, I'm obviously looking forward to the stream tomorrow. I'll give a little bit of thought later in terms of what transfers I want to use and confirm if I'm going to bench boost or not. I'm just enjoying that football's back, really, mate. But in terms of actual headspace, right now for fantasy, my headspace is in Sky right now because I need to make transfers tonight for the games today. So that's where my headspace is currently, and I'm really enjoying the challenge of manoeuvring that in the final weeks and seeing where I end up, as it's my first season plan now. Notorious Nerd says, good evening. Good evening, Notorious Nerd. Where are you watching from? Say good evening. It's 1 p.m. currently in the UK. Froda says, your thoughts on how Son will do in the last games worth getting in? Obviously, we know he's going to start tonight. Mourinho said that yesterday, that Kane and Sissoko and Son will definitely play this evening. I think if Son plays on the left, he won't get any return out of Wan-Bissaka. I think he needs to go floating. I like the idea of him playing from the left, but floating and trying to come inside a lot. But how Mourinho's going to set it up, I don't know. I think there's a possibility he starts on the right. I think there's a possibility he starts up front ahead of Kane. I think Son will struggle with the period that Spurs have now got between 32 and 35. I think Son will struggle a little bit more with fitness than, say, Kane, who I know people say, we get flogged to death, but he's used to that shit, playing every 3 days with high intensity, etc. Son's fitness is improving constantly. He's not the naturally fittest, should we say. It's not a lack of effort or anything like that. Please don't misunderstand that. Just he does tire quickly if he goes too hard too soon. He's going to need to manage his body a little bit better than what he normally does. I think from a value point of view, if the question is referring to FPL, then currently Son is in the immediate a better choice than Kane. But then if you ask me which one do I think is more likely to score tonight, I would say Kane. I think against West Ham, I would probably again actually lean for Kane. But the value on Son and the potential explosiveness he has makes him a brilliant option. I won't put you off. If I was buying one now, it would be Son, if that helps answer your question. But I've no particular desire at the moment, unless I see something very, very different to my expectations this evening, that would make me buy Heung-min Son for Tuesday. But come Monday, I might be sitting in a different position. Angus McPhail says, afternoon. Hello, Angus. How are you? He says, another one for Champman FPL. He says, better starting keeper for this game with Martin or Keller. Oh, it's a tough one. I'm probably getting Keller now that he's confirmed that he's going to play tomorrow, because I'm probably bench boosting. So, yeah, get him in. My other keeper's Crossley. I'm not expecting anything. I think they're away to Derby. I wouldn't expect a clean sheet out of Keller, but then it's only 1 goal against Martin and then it's a waste. So, you're probably Keller, Angus. You'll never hear me advise that again. FPL Badger Mark, our Norwich correspondent, says, hi, mate. Who would you sell on Sky Fantasy Football out of KDB and Aguero to make room for Manchester United asset? As I have none. Ideally, I would keep KDB, but knowing Aguero is likely to start next game is eating away at me. Yeah, I can understand that. Can you not keep both, Mark? Do you need to get one tonight to cover the captaincy, in which case I understand is completely reasonable. I would expect right now KDB and Aguero both to start on Monday night. That would be my instinct. I'd be amazed if Aguero doesn't start. And I have a feeling that KDB might miss the Chelsea game, actually. It's just a personal feeling. But I think he probably plays Monday. The fact he came off early as well is beneficial. I think you'll get a lot of that with KDB. Game was won on Wednesday night. Okay, let's take him off. They can't afford to do without him. As good as the rest of them players are, he is an absolute difference maker. So they won't want to lose him. So I think you might get a lot of that, him coming off at 60, 70 minutes if games are won, which you might argue is off-putting from a captaincy perspective in the first instance. But if the game's already won, there's every chance that he's done the damage as well. The way I'm looking at it, Mark, and it's probably dependent for that with Sky, how many transfers you've got left. So my thinking, I'm probably going to be in a position tonight where I'm down to 10, and then tomorrow and then Monday, I might already be down to 7 or 8. I'm looking to make fast moves on this to get my team fixed and then carry for a little bit. In terms of carrying, therefore, I really want to carry KDB for a lot longer. And so I think to answer your question, my advice for Sky would be hold KDB over Aguero. Having Aguero as your sole Manchester City asset could be quite dangerous. You're then sweating it out to captain him. And there's not many dates looking ahead where Manchester City is going to be the early kickoff and you're going to get the team news. Obviously, Monday night, you'll have the benefit of that. I would say, Mike, if you can work a manoeuvre to keep both for Monday and sacrifice something else, that's not a bad idea. Can you look at an alternative, perhaps take a 2-game punt on Danny Ings, for example, and then go back to Manchester United from Aguero on Tuesday? That might be a different alternative. Tom Campbell was in, but he retracted the message. Hello, TC. I see it's coming a bit later on. I'll get on to you, Tom. Joe Finney Bader says, afternoon, James. You excited to watch Spurs tonight? Absolutely buzzing. Can't wait for it till about 8:25, and I realised they've fucked me over again. But I can't wait. I'm really excited for it. I think the hours up to kick-off, I feel fine at the moment, but the hours up to kick-off are going to be weird. Really weird. Wife's going to go and stay at her dad's tonight. I've got the house to myself. Going to watch the game on my own. I'm going to open a can. I'm going to swear a lot, depending on how good or bad it's going. But yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch my team. That's what football should be about, above and beyond everything else, is watching and supporting your own team. The not being there is going to be weird, but I'm not making the choice not to go for the first time in 30 years. I'm being denied that right, and rightly so. So I accept it. In my head, I'm like, no, I've still never missed a game since I was 6 years old, because I couldn't buy a ticket, essentially. I've had my season ticket refunded, so I can't buy a ticket. So, yeah, the whole, I don't, there's not too much in the whole missing the run, because I think everybody knows it's a whole COVID thing. But there is a lot in that. There'll be a lot of football fans this weekend who are losing records of going to, I mean, I know plenty of Spurs fans go to every home and every away game in Britain and overseas, who probably won't have missed a Spurs game for 10 years, everyone home and away or something. And it will be like that at other clubs, and they're going to be feeling very weird over this weekend. So a little bit of a strange feeling, but yeah, I am absolutely looking forward to it, Joe. And that little bit of excitement of not really too much expectation on the rest of the season, but if we were win tonight, then we're back in it, and with a serious opportunity of putting some pressure on. So certainly can't afford defeat. If we lose tonight, then any hopes of top 4 or 5 finish is finished. So if that's the genuine hope, and I think that in the first instance, as much as I've said I can't see it, that has to be the aim, because win tonight and then we're back in it. That has to be the aim. So we can't lose it from that perspective. But yes, I'm really excited for it, Joe. Everybody's fit as well, so that helps mentality wise. Was suffering the 2 months before lockdown with no Kane, and then feeling like I had no son, and Ali being half fit and struggling with Ndombele's fitness. Everybody's fit as far as we know at the moment, other than Japhet Tanganga. I don't think would have started anyway. So yeah, looking forward to it. And tonight, for me, clean slate for Mourinho. Now you've got your players fit. Show me what you can do. I'm not hopeful. Danny McDonald, were you impressed by Sterling on Wednesday? I thought that Mendy helped him out a lot with him being able to drift centrally. Yeah, we know that style before. Johnny Pringles, our City correspondent, spoken about that a lot in terms of how he wants to how the way Guardiola wants his fullbacks to play is very dependent on his selection, and particularly on the left-hand side. We know that Zinchenko is not going to quite do that overlapping to the extent that Mendy will. And Zinchenko almost tucks in to almost make in possession often like an extra inside midfielder, basically. And Kyle Walker can play either of those roles quite comfortably. He's adapted as much. He gets criticism for his concentration, etc. We always knew he was a fullback that could fly up the wing, and we've seen him change a lot since he went to City in terms of also can sit into that sort of inside midfield position when they're in possession. And the key with that, with Walker and Zinchenko, when they play together, or if Cancelo plays that role, it's very much about stopping the counter-attack. That's the reason they do it. People think that Guardiola only thinks about attacking football. It's very much about ball domination, of course, always take the ball, pass the ball, etc. But it's also about being in a very, very strong position to shut down counter-attacks. When Walker and Zinchenko cut in, it denies open space in central areas to drive then at the immediate problem of the back two, essentially, because that's how City becomes a back two. And Mendy is not suited to that position. So whether Mendy does or does not play, quite often I feel is dependent on if he thinks the team is strong enough to counter-attack on Manchester City, for example. So if you take the example of Liverpool are obviously an extremely good counter-attacking team, but actually it doesn't come too much from the central areas in terms of having a number 10 who's going to cause immediate damage in those areas, because obviously Liverpool normally play with a flat three and then the front three. And looking forward ahead, there aren't too many games where actually that threat would appear for Man City. So it could well be that Mendy gets more minutes than we might actually be anticipating. I do think it benefits Sterling, because then he's inclined not to hug that touchline as much. So the impact of Zinchenko and Walker, if they play together, is then that you'll quite often get Sterling and Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, whomever, become a lot wider in attacking phases as well. And the attacking fullbacks means that Sterling and whomever plays the right-hand side, obviously it's Mahrez the other night, pick up positions that are more like what, say, you would be familiar with, say, Mane and Salah, for example. So I think the impact of Mendy, to go on to your point, Danny, yes, would be a positive for Sterling. Do we ever know if Mendy's going to play or not? No. Cut a long story short. Lewis Whitson, Big Tasty set for a price rise tonight. I don't think anybody's set for a price rise tonight, are they, Lewis? To be honest, Big Tasty, for those who don't know, is Jamal Lascelles. This whole thing, I covered this a lot on the podcast yesterday, so I don't really want to repeat it. And if people want to go back to that, it's in the last 10 minutes or so, maybe last 15 minutes. The kind of detail why we haven't had price rises, in my opinion, is that basically I think when game week 31 opened, I think everybody's level in terms of transfers in versus out was reset to 0. And I think to see any price rise, people are probably going to need a net transfers in of around about 50,000. But then when you factor in the unknown effect of the amount of wildcards that have been launched, that also has a bearing on what that total number is. So it's very much unknown. I know FPLstatistics.co.uk, they put out a statement on Twitter today saying that basically until the first price change happens, their predictions are going to be all over the place, because they don't know what the reworked algorithm will be until there's at least one transfer. And for them to actually get it accurately, they reckon it will probably take them a week. So you're gambling. Would Jamal Lascelles go up tonight in price? I would be extremely surprised, Lewis, no matter who is predicting that. Tom Campbell says, hey, James, how's it going, mate? Very well, thank you, Tom. What do you think of Jason's idea on Twitter next season, replacement of the North v South game against Surge? Love it. Hope you're well, pal. Yeah, so Jason, who's a Norwich fan, suggested to us, rather than having North v South, which, by the way, was definitely not doing again this year because it became very imbalanced. And by the way, this was Tom Campbell's idea at the start of the season. And I chose to have the harder team, the South, because I thought it would be a good challenge. With the performances of like Wolves, Leicester, and Sheffield United, it just become way too difficult. I needed someone to break out, like a West Ham or a Bournemouth or something, to do really well and their assets become available. And it's just not happened. So the idea that Jason was suggesting was that next year we do it as a draft. So, for example, if Sujad's first pick, he might pick Liverpool, then I pick Man City. So it's an easier balance. I think what will happen on our head-to-head next year is more likely something Dan FPL Loco has suggested, and it's something that me and Suj have already discussed, is the idea of Europe versus the rest of the world. And we might even restrict Europe to no English/British and Irish. So it is literally mainland Europe versus the rest of the world. We'll have a little think about that. I think that's the more likely course for us, Tom. That's the more likely course. Jeremy Khaled says, what would Son would have to showcase tonight for you to buy him? That's not necessarily Son specifically, Jeremy. It's the team as well, right? So you have to remember that even I described this on our Clash of the Correspondents on Tuesday by saying, like, I don't want to see Spurs playing counter-attacking football at the moment. It's too much attacking talent, in my opinion. However, if Spurs deploy a counter-attacking philosophy tonight against Manchester United, whose strength is also counter-attacking, then I understand that. I don't have too much of a problem with that. What I don't want to see is Spurs then playing counter-attacking football against West Ham on Tuesday. So if Spurs play counter-attacking tonight, my opinion is there's not actually too much to learn from that in terms of its potential impact on a very different fixture, which is also likely to be played at a different intensity, possibly, against West Ham on Tuesday. So I don't think there's too much learnings. The main thing for me that would make me want to throw him in would actually be if he looks top draw from a fitness perspective, because there's no doubting on his capabilities. And like I said, it's not so much about now and West Ham on Tuesday. Spurs then have a 9-day break, but then basically play 4 fixtures over the following 11 days. So there's 2 with a massive gap, and then 4 come really quick together. And that could very easily turn into 5 in a short period, by the way, as well. If Spurs end up having their game on a Wednesday in game week 36. I suspect it will be a Thursday, and then they'll probably play Leicester the 37 fixture in the midweek, and then the final day is on the Sunday. It'd be more fitness, which I've already partly covered. He's not the most naturally fit. Whether the military service stuff has helped or not, I have no idea. So Son's on the radar. He'll be on everybody's radar. I think for those who are free hitting in game week 31, I think he's a great selection. And I think a lot of free hitters in 31 will have Heung-min Son. Frodo said, did you like the fake crowd noise? No, Frodo, again, this was one we covered on a podcast towards the start yesterday, which you can find that podcast in my pinned tweet, where, no, I wasn't big on it at all, actually. I preferred living the real world to the real reality. Yes, it's different, but that's the reality. So I certainly won't be watching Spurs tonight with the crowd noise. Definitely not. I might try it again for the Norwich-Southampton game and see how I feel. But no, I prefer it without. I'd rather live the real experience. I can't get it out of my head that it's fake. And that's already put me in a bad state for watching the games. I'd rather deal with the reality. Frank Sherman says, hi, James. Hi, everyone in the chat. Hope everyone is well. Thank you very much, Frank. We hope you're well too. F. telling Josh this afternoon. Hope you're well. Everyone's wishing me well. I'm good. Do I look bad? Is it because I haven't had a shave for a couple of weeks? Predictions for tonight's game, and how excited are you to see Spurs playing? Well, I won't cover the last bit again, Josh, because I spoke about that a few minutes ago. But I think Norwich and Southampton could be quite high scoring. I think it could be like a 2-2, actually. And I think Tottenham and Manchester United, I predicted on Tuesday 1-1. So I'll stick with that. I genuinely think Tottenham and United could be all 4-0 tonight. I also think if there's an early goal, it could be a mental one. It could be a 3-3 or a 3-2, something like that. Very, very difficult to be predicting games at this stage. My instinct, therefore, would be draws in both games. Notorious Nerd says, best captain pick for next game week. For me, it would be Mane. I see it does look like the speculation is there are continuing doubts about Mohamed Salah. I think Trent, by the way, could be an amazing alternative playing against Crystal Palace. Those are the best ones, in my opinion. If I was not to buy Mane back, I genuinely might captain Trent. And for those saying why Mane over Salah, I don't enjoy owning Salah. It's just a personal thing. I'm not saying Mane is a better choice. That's just how I feel. Frank Sherman says, what are your expectations for tonight, James? I don't know. It's going to be weird, as I've said. I just want Spurs to play well. I just want us to play well. I want that more than anything. I don't want to get to 10 o'clock and think that was shit. If Manchester United are better than us, which they're well capable of being, hands up, no problem. I want to enjoy watching Spurs tonight. That said, the flip of it is, if we're shit and win 1-0 tonight, I will take it. If we're shit and beat West Ham 1-0, I won't be happy about that. There's the balancing act between the game and what's necessary. So, but I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. Expectations, I can't predict it. I haven't seen either team play for 3 months. And even if I think to the Spurs I watched 3 months ago, it's nothing like... This team that Mourinho's got tonight is a team that he hasn't had yet. Even to the fact that he at one stage had Christian Eriksen. Right? So we haven't seen this team together, if you add in the points of like Bergwijn, perhaps and Ndombele's fitness back into the equation, if he's fit. I don't know Lo Celso's fitness status. It's unknown. There's a little excitedness in the unknown. Phil says, afternoon. Hello, Phil. Notorious Nerd says, Bergwijn an option. Not for me. Not for me. Could be. Someone's going to break out from this weekend who nobody's thinking about now. And Stevie Bergwijn, if he plays well tonight with West Ham next, people are going to be thinking about it. Absolutely. Wouldn't be my call. No, personally. I think if you're ranking, you're going Kane, Son, Bergwijn, which means if he wants to change and then go Lucas or Lamella, play Ndombele higher, play Lo Celso higher. Remember, Dele Alli suspended tonight. You've got Jedson Fernandez. You can play Musa Sissoko wide right. No, I think the main two will obviously be Kane and Son. So Bergwijn, I think, is one who's likely to be rotated quite a bit, particularly in that period between 32 and 35. FPL Badger says, yes, that's the issue. I need a captain for tonight. Have nothing. That's going back to his Sky question at the start. I'd keep KDB then, Mark, would be the answer. FPL Andy saying afternoon. Dominic Jervis saying fantastic. Don't know what I've done, but thanks, Dominic. Adam English. Ever think about live stream with Spurs game on? Buzzing for the game tonight. Cans open for sure. Oh, Adam. I have thought about it. I have thought about doing it tonight, yeah. Not like this, but setting it up in the living room with the webcam on and you can watch me lose my shit. The problem is when I'm watching Spurs, some shit might come out of my mouth that I really fucking regret. And so that's why I'm not going to do it. It's as fucking simple as that. I'm going to say something that's going to really upset people. And the people I'll upset the most will be Tottenham fans or Manchester United fans, whether they agree or disagree with my opinion. So I certainly wouldn't have interacted with the chat, but I thought, yeah, do you know what? It might have been fun for you to see me sitting in the living room on my own, but I'm not going to do it because I can't tell you how I'm going to be tonight. So I'm not going to do it. Maybe one game a little bit more down the line, particularly if Spurs season drops off a little bit. I don't mind perhaps taking you through a game in the future where if we're not got nothing to play for, where I'll talk you through things that I'm looking at from a Spurs perspective during a game. But while there's something to be achieved, I'm going to be completely in the fan moment. So I'm not going to do it. But yes, Adam, I did think about setting up a webcam, just leaving it and you lot could crack on. But why you would watch me rather than the game, I don't quite know. I do have something potentially coming as an extra for YouTube, though, which I'll talk about towards the end. Dominic Jervis says, why Mane over Salah if Salah takes pens without Milner on the pitch? It's a personal, Dominic. It's a personal. I don't enjoy owning Mohamed Salah. Simple as that. Show me the Mane FC. With the 2 water breaks during Premier League games and players still not being match fit, can you see a lot of boring 0-0 draws in games? Yeah. Again, this is something we discussed yesterday in terms of an expectation of possibly less goals because teams not going to absolutely rip someone 4-5-0 doesn't necessarily mean a greater amount of clean sheets, but it could do. I think most people are not going to enjoy the majority of the games because the importance of fans in the crowd cannot be understated. It is not the football that we invested in even as children. We didn't invest in football because we saw it played with no crowd, right? It's that part of the experience, to being a fan. That's why so many of us got invested in it. So it's not football as we know it. I think the majority of the games will probably be games that many of us won't enjoy, even if they're scoring games, because it's just not the same. I wouldn't, if I wasn't invested in the podcast, etc., I wouldn't watch the amount of games that I'm about to. So to be very honest with you, tonight, if I wasn't doing a podcast or anything, I wouldn't watch Norwich Southampton. I would just get myself in a headspace ready for Spurs. But I am intending to watch that game. Notorious Nurse says, do you see Mourinho play safe with his tactics and look for a 0-0 tonight? I don't, actually. I think he knows he I wouldn't say needs to win the game, but to have hopes of finishing top 4 or 5 if Man City are still to be locked out of the Champions League, then I think he knows he probably needs to win that game of football tonight. And winning it will be the most important win that we could have left because it drags us right close to Manchester United. I think he'll go for it in his own way, whatever way that is. He will be trying to win the game. I don't think there's a doubt about that. Gravy Dave, afternoon, James. I've seen a few FPL managers going without Trent till the end of the season. Are they mad or wise? For me, it's someone I can't do without. Can't do without. I just, the value is exceptional. So, I mean, if he's 8 million next year, I've already said this, he'll be the first player on my team. Incredible value. If he was performing the way he does, and getting the returns as a midfielder without the clean sheets. He'd be in everybody's team, in my opinion. So the clean sheets are the bonus to come with the incredible attacking returns. He's getting better at the set piece. He's getting better at crossing, everything. I think he's brave. But I wouldn't call anybody mad at the moment. It's personal opinion. I think a lot of people are going down this route of thinking that obviously once the league's won, Liverpool will mass rotate, for example, as well. But then I think you factor these things in. Do you never go with a Man City asset because you never know what the team's going to be? It's not really the way to play the game, is it? So I wouldn't call anybody mad for saying they're going to go without. My personal opinion is I would be mad to go without. Mark Dorney's agreeing with something I said. He's agreeing with my opinions on Spurs. Hope you're well, Mark. Perlo's Pen. How do you feel about David De Gea over Harry Maguire? Will there be that much points divergence? No, I wouldn't have thought so. Maguire slightly more likely to be in the bonus, but then De Gea's got the benefit of the save points. So I wouldn't anticipate too much difference in that, really. I think that's an either or, personal preference. Carl's in. Afternoon, Carl. It was a pleasure speaking to you this morning, mate. Radar 212. Can you see United scoring a couple tonight? Hopefully I'm wrong. Yes, I can. Hope you're wrong as well. Carl says, James, was Harry sick on your shirt or are you a messy eater at lunchtime? It's just a dodgy shirt, isn't it? Claytors, hey guys, I have done that before where I've done streams and then look back and I'd be like, oh my God, there's a big pile of milk there or something. It happens. Babies do this shit. Yeah, he's thrown up at me before. I don't mind. It's better than a real human doing it. I mean, my missus has thrown up at me before. That was less pleasurable. Long story that. It was actually the night before we played the League Cup final against Chelsea in 2015. I went out and got battered the night before, which was an extremely bad idea. And on the way to Wembley, I felt like I could still, yeah, you get the idea. Notorious Nerd, do you think Lampard may go with 3-5-2 and start both Giroud and Abraham this week? Probably not. No. If he's going to go that way, I'd see it more as a 3-4-2-1. I'd be very surprised if he played both. I don't think that's the long-term objective. I think if you play that way, then you really are struggling to get the likes of Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, Willian. You're struggling to get any of them in the team there. So I would say no, I wouldn't see that. Clayton says, hey guys, hello Claytors. Dominic Jarvis, Rashford or Vardy from game week 31? I'd probably say Vardy. And purely because I think there's better combinations than we've had in a Martial or a Fernandes. Rather than, I prefer the idea of that than what others are looking at with, say, Rashford and Harvey Barnes. That's a personal preference right now. So for that reason, Dominic, I would say Vardy. Robert Warnock says, which teams do you reckon are the best to focus on moving forward? Wolves, Chelsea, Man United come to mind. Do you agree? Who else would make up top 5? Well, in my plan, which is currently to wildcard in 33, then I would quite honestly just add Manchester City and Liverpool to that. I know that's the really, really boring answer. The other one, interestingly, a couple of others to shout out. It's Burnley. I know technically I've got nothing to play for, but there's good options there with Pope. Charlie Taylor's dirt cheap. Keep a real close eye on Chris Wood's fitness. I think if he's fit, he could have a strong finish to the season. After City game Monday, it's Watford, Palace, Sheffield United, West Ham. Okay, then it's Liverpool, Wolves. They finish with Norwich, Brighton. It's not the worst run of fixtures, what I'm saying. And West Ham as well from game week 33. I think we will be looking. Newcastle, Burnley themselves, Norwich, Watford, Manchester United and Aston Villa is West Ham's final 6. And they've got a tough 3, which could put them further in the shit. So I think, yeah, looking at Jared Bowen, Mikel Antonio from game week 33, they'll be very much on the radar. I'm pretty certain, actually, that if I go with that current strategy of a wild card in 33, that I will have a West Ham asset. I'm certain of that. Fabianski as well is a great option, of course. Radar 217, can you see Kane going into your team going forward? Probably not. Probably not. I think there's a tipping point with Kane where you will feel the urge to captain him. And unless I see different in the Spurs games coming up, which I would, for me, from an FPL perspective, I would describe as the next three before a game week 33 wildcard. If Spurs play really well in the next three and then impress, there's every chance I'll go with Kane and Son. My instinct right now is I would have a preference for Son. Extra goal from midfield, extra point for the clean sheet that we never fucking get. Small preference. With Kane, I when I've owned, I've always felt it's been part of a plan where I've wanted to captain him. And when I look at Liverpool and Manchester City for the remaining game weeks, so you could have a captain rotation from 33 of, I mean, Jesus, Liverpool and Man City, so it's against Villa or Southampton, 34 Brighton or Newcastle, 35 Burnley or Brighton. Man City have Bournemouth in 36, Watford in 37, and Norwich in 38. So I think there's possibly a case to spread, to come off sort of Mane, etc., perhaps for the final three. They're not awful though, Arsenal, Chelsea, Newcastle. I just think you'd favour the City captaincy in that final three if you can work out who's going to play. Where am I going to be using Kane as a captain in that period? I'm not. And therefore, I'm not sure. I can't see me ever captaining him. And therefore, I think I probably wouldn't. Personal, again. Robert Warnock says, awesome work from you and Sis during this period. Massive thanks. Very much appreciate that, Robert. Thank you. Mark Dorney, what do you think about the Fraser situation? I spoke a few weeks back about, I think it's Lyle Taylor, isn't it, at Charlton, who decided that he wasn't going to play. And I was a little bit undecided on how I felt about it because there's strong rumours that he's potentially got a move lined up to it's been described as a career-changing move in terms of the financials that he'll get. I think in Ryan Fraser's case, yes, he's obviously going to jump up a huge amount of money from whoever he leaves Bournemouth and goes to play to, but he will certainly already be on an extremely good salary. And he wouldn't be what he's doing now or had been doing last season, for example, without Bournemouth also having given him that chance. I think that he should be sticking around. Also, he came out and said early winter time, where he'd openly said that his head hadn't been in the right place, and now he was sorted and he was going to do everything to help keep Bournemouth up. Now, if you're a Bournemouth fan and you've heard those words 3 or 4 months ago and now see him pissing off, you've got every right to be massively angry. And look, the situation's awkward. I understand that. If he's, I don't know, if he's got a move lined up to wherever and it's doubling his money and he's going to be playing Champions League football and he doesn't want to put that at risk because he's got to be fit, I do get it. But I think this is slightly different to the Taylor situation at Charlton. And I think he should be playing, is my personal opinion. Ryan Fraser is going to get to, when he joins his new football club, he's not going to have played football for 6 months. What's his fitness going to be like? What's his new teammates going to be thinking of him? So if it goes bad here, are you going to fuck off as well at the first opportunity? No, I think it's bad. I think for Bournemouth, by the way, it's better he doesn't play. If he's not at it, you're better off getting David Brooks back in that team and going with that and centralising your play around his capabilities, because he's a brilliant talent and Bournemouth have been extremely unlucky to do without him this year. Notorious Nerd says, how does the return of Dele Alli affect Spurs next game with any players who will benefit more? Again, depends on positioning. So this is why Spurs will be a really tough read tonight, because I don't think there's any guarantee we'll play the same way on Tuesday against West Ham. And it's not certain that Dele Alli will come back into that team either. If Spurs excel tonight, especially if we do decide to play attacking football in, say, a 4-2-3-1, then there's every chance Mourinho will just go again in the week. If Ndombele or Lo Celso or Lamela excels in that 10 position tonight, if that's how he plays, I don't think it's guaranteed that Dele Alli comes straight back in. So, again, really, really difficult to say. When Dele Alli is at his best, it's a huge benefit to Harry Kane. Mark Dorney says, Son or Kane for Sky Fantasy Football and when? Right now, Mark, I'm thinking Kane, and this is going to confuse people. It's a very different game, and because you can captain players on each day, there are times where I'd want to captain Harry Kane. So I'm thinking Kane, July the 2nd, day we play Sheffield United, and not impossible that I'd add Heung-min Son on the Monday against Everton as well. Could be that I do that the other way round, possibly. But actually, there is a chance that for that week between the Everton and the Arsenal fixtures, I might go Kane and Son, possibly. Alistair Coper, hi James, are you going to do a video podcast on a potential wildcard draft this week for people who are on wildcard? No, I'm not intending to do that. It's not really my gig. There's other great people like FPL TV, Scout, Andy, Let's Talk, who will look after you from those sort of perspectives. I'm absolutely sure. Suj is in the chat, and so says Tom Campbell. Suj says, hi James, quick question. Do you think Leroy Sané play for Manchester City on Monday? No, I don't think he'll start. Sorry. I think he'll certainly play a part. I don't think he'll start. That's my instinct. I can't give you a definition of why, but that's my instinct. I see City making 4 or 5 changes rather than 10 or 11. And I think Bernardo for Mahrez will be 1. I don't think Sané plays. That's my instinct. Sorry, pal. Much love. We love that you picked him. Notorious Nerd, do you see Foden start for City v Burnley and which players might get benched? That's just a follow on. I think Aguero will play. I think Bernardo will play. I think there's a strong possibility Otamendi will play. I think one of the fullbacks will change. I think at least one of Fernandinho or Rodri will play. Guess, isn't it? Completely guessing. Joe Finley Badder, I've got a team this year of just African players. Other than the main 3 of Salah, Mane and Aubameyang, it's been pretty hard, especially without an African goalkeeper in the league. Is there not a single one? Steve-O's in the chat from Elite FPL. Cracking work. Steve and Jason did 19 hours of streaming, I think, over the last 3 days or so. Top work, mate. I'm sure there's plenty of Planet FPL references in there. He's predicting a 1-1 tonight as well. He expects it to be drab. Don't watch it then, Steve-O. Do a stream. Zekia Zek 007 says, got a suggestion. I think FPL should introduce data showing managers' performance in their respective leagues. End of campaign. I think will make the whole thing exciting and bragging rights for sure. I think you should suggest that to the official FPL account, mate. Stuart Bell, I defo watched that waiting to see you flip the table over. He's referring to me putting the camera on myself tonight. And I know a lot of people would love me to do that, but no, I'm not doing it. I would have nothing in front of me. That's a certainty, by the way. Nothing would be in my view. And the only thing you'll end up with is probably my stomach flapping about if we score and stuff. You don't want to be seeing it, really. I'm telling you. Adam English would love to see that in the future, even to watch back the game after to hear your live thoughts. We'll have my full focus on the game too. Explicit language included. Enjoy it, Adam. FPL Cobbler. Hi, mate. Hope you're well. Thoughts on Viduka to Rebroth, Hokey Cokey and Champman's cover both double game weeks. I'm thinking about it as well, but I think I'm probably not going to do it and just keep Viduka. It's my thinking. I put it this way, it would be a hit for me to do it, and then it's potentially affecting me for a transfer for the week after. So I think I'm just going to go with Viduka this week, and it means I'm going without Rebroth. So be it. Dominic Jervis, FPL-wise, the game is exciting for me. Otherwise, would be uninspiring. Even the Villa Sheffield United match exciting when you have 3 Sheffield United defenders. Lol. Also says, any ideas when we'll have full crowds back to stadiums, James? Mid-2021. Christ. I don't know. And I think what you might find is that eventually it'll be different per club. I spoke about this on this stream either last week or the week before about Tottenham trying to be at the front from a technology perspective to get people back in the ground. Be it, I don't know, testing at the gate or something like that, or you have to send in a test to say you've tested yourself. I don't know how that would be viable or whatever. Trust me, Spurs, technological wise, will be at the front of trying to force football fans back in the stadium because Tottenham need it as much as anybody to get those gate receipts going again and getting people spending money on concessions, etc. Although would concession stands be open? I don't really know. I think it's possible that we'll play all of next season without fans. I think that's possible. I also think it's possible that fans might be back in stadiums when the new season restarts. I think it very much depends on what happens in the next 2 months in the nation. That's what it will depend on. Trust me, nobody wants to put anyone's life at risk, but football clubs will be desperate to get fans back in grounds. And whether rightly or wrongly, people like me are desperate to get back in the ground as well. So there'll be a push for it. I have a little bit of a feeling that if we start next season without, and there's no clear plan or structure in terms of when, then we should potentially just go the whole season without fans from a level playing field perspective. Particularly, like I said, I think Tottenham will get fans back in the ground quicker than a club like Bournemouth with the size of their ground, etc. and surrounding areas. It's going to be tough. Getting into Spurs is like Fort Knox, mate. It's like airport security. You ain't going to have that at Bournemouth. So then is there an advantage to Spurs over Bournemouth, for example? I think the answer to that is yes, and I think it should be fair so that when fans are allowed back in one stadium, they're allowed back in all 20, for example. But then Spurs is a good testing ground to start. I don't know. I can't answer it, Dominic. I hope it's ready for the new season to at least even get, I don't know, 10,000 in the ground at Spurs, for example, would make a massive difference to everybody. Dan, 76, Lord, at Loca, Lord, our Liverpool correspondent this afternoon. Good luck tonight. Appreciate that, Dan. Thank you very much. Good luck to yourselves on Sunday and enjoy what happens next Wednesday, or be it the game after, or whenever. FPL Andy, there's a special guest on my Zoom with Spurs tonight. Who do you reckon it is? I reckon it might be Ledders, which would be class. It definitely would be Andy. Andy has won to be part of the people zooming in and watching the game. And their faces are going to be covered on the big screens or something at Spurs, which is quality. No, I didn't apply for it. Ledley's doing something pre-game, Andy. So I'd say that's a strong possibility that it's Ledley, but it might not be. Might be Dele Alli suspended. He's got nothing better to do, is he? Notorious Lurd. How long will there be between the end of this season and the start of the next one? Any championship players you're looking at? And will you take new signings like Werner, Ziyech in your game with one team? Very tough to say. We don't factually know who's coming up at the moment. I certainly want to watch Leeds a couple of times between now and the end of the season. Same with West Brom. I'll watch the championship playoffs if I can when they happen. They're always a good barometer in terms of pressure of games, their importance, etc. Tough one to say. On the season restart, I anticipate mid-September, I think. I think for like the clubs in Europe, it's going to be difficult. When I say that, I mean City, Bulls, Manchester United still in Europe, so going to have a little bit of a break. Going to play in Europe for 10 days. I think there probably needs to be, I would say, probably at least 3 weeks between Champions League final and new season. That would be my instinct. And that's lined up for, is it about the 20th of August now or something, maybe 25th. So I think mid-September is realistic. Robert Warnock, he said my name. Hello, Robert. We're all friends here, mate. Paul Tinkler, any chance Jose gets shown the door before the start of next season? What would it take? No chance. The only thing that would get Mourinho sad is if the players went to the chairman and went, look, this guy is a complete fucking disaster. You need to get rid of him. That's what it would take. Player power. Otherwise, he's got mitigating circumstances for his failure this year. And the failures this year are not all on him. Pochettino has to take a large amount of the responsibility for Tottenham's failings this season as well. I completely agree that Mourinho walked into a shitstorm of a situation. I can't argue that. So no, he'll get certainly to at least Christmas, won't he? And I should think beyond. Lewis Plummer, Pep just confirmed Sane has rejected a new contract and wants to leave. Is that correct? Wow. That's big news, if possible, if that's true. Dominic Joe is saying exactly. James Fraser admitted he had played poorly in the autumn, now just buggered off. Yeah, notorious nerd. Looks like Sane going to warm the bench for the rest of the season at Lewis Plummer. Dominic Joe is Brooks, King and Wilson could save us from the drop. Exactly. If Fraser don't want to be there, you're better off without. Ian McCaz, Sane is rejecting a new contract at City, just been announced. That sounds like it's true then. Shano83 says, hi James, how are you, mate? I'm very good, thank you, Shano. I hope you're well too. Notorious Nerd saying Sane on his way to Bavaria. Yes, sounds like a move to Bayern Munich will be on the cards. FPL Drew saying James, hope you're well. Can't wait to see Aurier dive in at every opportunity against Rashford tonight. Rashford going up against Mr. Rash. Yeah, you'll have a proper briefing on how to deal with Rashford, whether he does or doesn't. To be confirmed. Rashford was fantastic in the reverse fixture at Old Trafford. Caused us no end of problems. Richard S. Free hit a wild card this week. Can't answer that, Richard. I've no idea what your team looks like. Please don't post your whole team in the chat. It's personal preference. It's personal preference. I'm doing neither. So my advice is neither, therefore. Hipok07 Legendary. How will you feel when you win the best podcast tonight at Spurs? Well, I'm definitely not winning it tonight. The voting is closed for the Football Content Awards, by the way. The awards are not till November. It is still scheduled to take place in the stadium at Tottenham, which might be my only chance of getting in that stadium between now and Christmas. So, yeah, look, we want to win it. I'm going to be very honest. I think we deserve to win it. To say we're the best fantasy football podcast, that is definitely not for me to say. We're up against some very good competitors, particularly for me. Shout out to Brandon and Josh and Tom, Nick and Anthony, always cheating and who got the assists, become friends of the show, basically. So massive shout out to them. I think what we've done during lockdown, the last year, the charity, the 24-hour, the amount of content, the live shows. Yeah, I think we're worth the shout. My biggest concern is not the voting. I think on the voting we might have it, but I think the other guys have probably got bigger backing than us in terms of their following, perhaps more higher profile followers. So Marvin Holmes, who's he wasn't in JLS, he was tweeting and backing one of the guys yesterday. He's got like 300,000 followers. Oh, fucking hell. So we haven't got that sort of backing, and probably I also suspect we're the least known of the 5 nominees to the judges. So if anybody wants to go and have a look at who the judges are and bug them, be my guest, because I'm not going to start atting all of these judges and start saying why you need to vote for us. No, look, we'll win it on merit or we won't. Simple as that. Shano83 says Jimenez brace against West Ham, and is he a great option from here to the end? I certainly think Jimenez is a great option for the next 3. I've got triple Wolves in FPL at the moment. I've got Doherty, Traore and Jimenez, all part of a bench boost, basically. And I really like the Bournemouth Villa fixtures coming up. Then there's a decision to make before they play sort of Arsenal, Sheffield United, because that's when I'm likely to wildcard, and there's a good switch of fixtures. And it might be I decide to go without Wolves from that period. So very much down to personal circumstances. Can Jimenez score tomorrow? Raul Jimenez can score in any game at any time. Angus McPhail, thoughts on Henry, Viduka, Rebrov front line? That's for Champ Man. Any others you think might be better shouts? Well, yeah, Shearer. I think Shearer is a better choice than Rebrov, personally. Would be how I feel on that, Angus. As long as he's fit, in the short term as well. Double game week this week for Shearer. West Ham at home in game week 24. I think I'm leaning towards Shearer captain rather than Henry. That's the way I'm leaning. Elite FPL Steve O'Hara, that reply was brilliant. Cheers, pal. Shamil Galan is in. Thoughts on how much you'll beat us by next week? I wouldn't bank on it, Shamil. We will know that West Ham always turn up against Spurs. Adding, or do you think Antonio will do the dirty on you again? I would have concerns if you come to us and play quite direct. We could have some issues. Mikey Moles, only got my triple captainship left after using bench boost this game week. Any thoughts on when might be best to use it, mate? Keep up the good work. Cheers. The best use of the triple captainship now, for me, is when you feel absolutely certain that a striker, the person that you want to captain, has a good fixture and they are an absolute clear captain choice for you. That would be my advice. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. Spurs have a 9-day gap between West Ham and Sheffield United fixtures in 31 and 32. Right now, obviously, Harry Kane against Sheffield United is not the best triple captaincy option. But unless he gets injured in between or picks up COVID, it's 100% certainty that Harry Kane will play that game, right? That's where you want to be. I think best fixture left for triple captain is Manchester City against Norwich in game week 38. Are you brave enough to hope there will be a potential team leak in the last 5 minutes before the deadline and completely basically turn over whatever you need to in your team? And that same will go for free hitters, by the way. Or if there isn't any, do you have enough confidence to believe that KDB or an Aguero, etc., will start? If you pinned me right now, I would say Aguero against Norwich in game week 38. And the reason for that being is if he's got Vardy or whomever's top of the golden boot within sight, I would think back him to get 2 or 3 in that final game. But then you know the risk, right? Pep might just go, no, fuck it, I don't want to play you, even though the golden boot could be there for him. That would be the best one that I can see on paper. Dominic Jervis says, thanks, James. Yes, can see reduced crowds in the autumn. Something, please. Here's hoping, mate. Ian Davis, has Bergwijn been overlooked as Spurs threat? Covered Bergwijn a little bit earlier, Ian, so don't want to go over that again. But I think, yes, he's being overlooked. And I think until I see different, that's probably the right choice. Pushkar Kulkarni says, Guardiola said Leroy Sané is rejected to extend his contract. If at the end of the season 2 clubs agree he can leave, if not, he will leave at the end of his contract. The club offered 2 or 3 times. Okay, fair enough. Perez Pence is same. It's just rejected his contract. Not good for old Suj. He's probably not good for Monday. No, I think Suj's intention is to wildcard probably anyways. It's not a long-term issue for him. Push goals hasn't. Excuse me. FPL question. So on a free hit for game week 31, is KDB essential? Or we can afford to go without him to accommodate both Salah and Mane? Of course you can. Of course you can. I think if KDB plays against Burnley on Monday, I think there's a strong possibility he doesn't play against Chelsea. Yeah, you can go without him. Of course you can. If they've got one of the more difficult fixtures, I think with a free hit, you should be taking advantage of other teams, personally. FPL Sponge, how big a priority is Son for your FPL side for the rest of the season? He's not. He's not a priority. Might be where I end up, but he's not. It's not a priority. Ian Davis, will Suj move to Munich now? Depends what their basements are like in some of the hotels, I suppose. Robert Warnock says, if you're still watching the video, add a like as you clearly liked it enough to watch it this far. Thank you very much, Robert. Davey P, I have no double game week players this week. Have I made a mistake? Ask me that again next week, Davey, and I'll tell you. Let me know how many points you've got. FPL Andy, it's funny, I didn't even apply for the Zoom, just randomly got chosen on a ballot. Didn't think about Delhi. Could be him, actually. I'd be very surprised if it's Delhi, Andy. Robert Warner says that sounds passive-aggressive. I apologise asking for people to like the video. No, it's all right, Robert. Some extra people like the video, mate. Says it is 10:58 p.m. in Melbourne right now, and I'm pretty baked. Later, Joe. Well, thank you very much, Robert, for your contributions, and good luck for the rest of the game week. William Jones says, hi, mate. Just a quick one. If we take lots of hits now and get the players we want in and then free hit, will we get the team with those new players for the rest of the season? Hope this makes sense. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. You can make 112 transfers this game week. If you free hit, you will revert back to the team that you started with when the game week reopened at around about 6 o'clock on Wednesday. You cannot fudge the game, William. Don't bother. If I had £1 for every time I'd been asked this similar question over the last 3 weeks or so, my goodness, we wouldn't have needed Patron. Frank Sherman, off to a work call. Stay safe, everyone. Take care, Frank. FPL Drew, who's finishing top 4? Liverpool, Manchester City, Leicester, and Manchester United. They're very close between United and Chelsea, I think. Ian Davis, if I played triple captain in week 38, I would pick someone with something to play for. Agreed. That's what I'm talking about. Aguero chasing the golden boot. Doesn't necessarily have to be a team. The only two, I mean, West Ham played Villa. They play each other. Would you triple captain any of them just because they got something to play for? No, I wouldn't. Davey P, best week for the bench boost if you still have it available. Depends on the makeup of your squad. I will try and do some analysis for that in the coming weeks. I've not had time to be honest, at the moment. Depends on the makeup of your team. You're probably looking at it fixtures where you've got some cheap assets and they've got very good fixtures. So I'm thinking perhaps towards the end, maybe where you've got like Norwich and Burnley play each other, Southampton and Bournemouth play each other, Newcastle and Burnley play each other. They're all in game week 37, for example. So to have them cheap assets as part of a bench boost might be the way forward, but I need to do a more detailed analysis for it. And do you have the wildcard set up for it? The answer for that question will be different for every single person. Andrew Martin says, afternoon, mate. Just an hour late. No probs, Andy. Hope you're well, mate. Mikey Moles, appreciate the advice. Game week 38, triple captain Aguero. It is. Don't lock yourself into that, Mikey. If a good opportunity comes up, do it. Ian Davis, not sure he will still be playing by then. Not sure what that refers to, but trust Ian's word. Andy Martin says, do the Rashford and Bruno tonight. How many points do you reckon? Without captaincy, 13 or so. Pushkar Kalkami, there is a particular leak which says Oddy plays 3-5-2 tonight with Pogba on the bench. As a Spurs fan, Pogba being on the bench surely pleases you. It doesn't make any difference, Pushkar, because I think most of us heard as far back as Tuesday that Pogba had apparently been told that he would not start for Manchester United tonight. So I think the majority of people seem quite aware of that prospect. I'm not sure. I think it would have been very difficult for United to manage a team tonight with Pogba, Fernandes, Martial and Rashford. So I'm not sure it's necessarily a bad thing for United. Plus, they can obviously use him to change the impact of the game, and what an impact sub to have. So I'm not sure that it is necessarily benefit for Spurs actually in the immediate. So I think United would have found it very difficult to play a counter-attacking style with all those 4 players I mentioned all in the team together. And I think that's the way he wants to go tonight, is to try and draw Spurs on. If it's a back 5, that's definitely what he's trying to do. No doubt about it, in my opinion. Ali Ships, Sun worth 9.7 million for the rest of the season. Ali, I've kind of covered this already about 4 or 5 times on Sun. Personal preference, personal opinion, wouldn't really put you off. He's not on my immediate radar. Gary Smith is in and says, yo, James, I love you. Gary, we love you too, mate. Sachin Debasia, James, if you could take any 2 players from United to go to Spurs, who would they be and why? Also love your content. We'll be voting for you guys in the Football Content Awards. You can't vote no now, Sachin, because unfortunately the voting closed yesterday, but I appreciate the sentiment. If I could take 2 players from United, I would take Harry Maguire and I would take Marcus Rashford. Age profiles, right leadership qualities in both. I would go those 2. And we will end on this one from Nick George. As I had no wild card, I've used free hit this week. Only chip remaining is my bench boost. Is there a particular game week you would recommend using my bench boost? And Nick, if you want to just rewind about 3-4 minutes, I just covered that event. I suspect it might be game week 37, just having had a quick glance at it, but it will be very dependent to your own personal circumstance. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon, Friday. Just a little bit of an update on next week for patrons. We will be going to 5 podcasts, 1 each weekday next week. Our aim is to have them to you no later than midday. For the general public, we will also have podcasts for you every day between Monday and Friday. And our aim certainly will be to have them out for you well in advance of the game days. For the general public, we will have on Monday, main podcast reviewing the 9 games between Friday and Sunday. Very early on Tuesday, we will put out a clash of the correspondence between Aaron Lagor and FPL Seagull, previewing the Leicester and Brighton match, which kicks off game week 31, 6 o'clock. So we will get that out for you nice and early. It will be pre-recorded on Monday. We'll get it out for you nice and early on Tuesday, so you've got time to take that in before the deadline. Good week to be looking at Leicester assets, I'd suggest. And Brighton will come back around. You're probably thinking now, I'm telling you, last 3 game weeks, we will be looking at Brighton again. I'm certain most FPL managers will be. Wednesday, we'll do Sky again. We'll get it out early. Next Thursday, I'm going to move the Ask James stream from Friday to Thursday next week. And I think it's quite possible, the way the fixtures are working, that's going to be the plan going forward, is that this stream will move from a Friday to a Thursday. The reason for that being is that then on a Friday, me and Suj can then do the main podcast together again and review all the 10 games from the midweek action. So that's what we're going to do next Friday. And looking at the schedule, that's highly likely what we'll be doing in coming weeks going forward, is having a main podcast every Friday reviewing all the games, and then it's also current with all the information ready for you to go again before what looks like it's going to be Saturday deadlines for the weekend games. Also, obviously, Champman FPL streams for the Champman players. They're going to stay in their current slots at least up to game week 35. So it'll be 2:30 starts on a Saturday, 8:30 p.m. starts on a Wednesday. Also, as an additional for YouTube, it's going to be dependent on time for me, but I'm very much thinking over this period of potentially doing YouTube live streams in the hour before a deadline, which will obviously then be a YouTube exclusive. It's not going to get converted to a podcast like this one will be. So if you listen to this and want to catch up via an audio, I'm going to cut this up quite quickly and get it out for you as soon as possible, so you can listen back to the audio if you want to. But I'm intending now, don't take this as gospel, but I'm intending to live stream on Tuesday at 5 p.m. until so it's 5 p.m. deadline, is it 4 p.m. until the deadline passes at 5 p.m. That's also very dependent on me getting content of podcasts out for you in time, and importantly for my patrons as well. If that all works smoothly, I'll be here 4 p.m. Tuesday. So last minute FPL needs, I will help talk you through it for the final hour. That's it. Ian Davis says, wow, busiest man in FPL. You're not wrong. Thanks very much, everyone. Good luck tonight. Good luck for the rest of your game week. Have a very good weekend for the fathers out there in the UK. I'm not sure if it's around the world, but it certainly is in the UK. Have a great Father's Day on Sunday. All the best to everybody. For the benefit of the audio, cue music, please, man child.